All right. Yeah, the game that I played more than anything would have to be Halo 3. Like when that came out, me and my brothers and stuff were playing Halo 2 a lot. So we're kind of just waiting for that to drop. Then when it came out, got it on release day, and we just played it. Like I swear we put like 8 hour shifts in on that game. It was like I'd come home from school and play it until I'd go to bed and then wake up and do it again on the weekend. So we were like, I can't even tell you how many hours we put into that game. My brother Kyle and I, we would get accounts up to like level 50, like the highest level, then sell them to people for Microsoft points. So yeah, we we use that
Nice.
just to like buy games and stuff. But yeah,
Enterprising.
it was fun. So maybe Elon Musk bought a tag from us. I don't know, but I guess it's possible.
Welcome to the Cable Club. We're a retro video gaming podcast where three guys try to be gentlemen and so many good things will come to them. And we're linking up to talk about the games you love and rank them. This is episode number 33. We're your hosts. I'm Steve.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Don.
And we're here with Brad from the Arcadiology Podcast. Say hi, Brad.
Hey, what's up, guys?
This week's episode is our 7th League episode, and the entry is JJ Squawkers. So get ready to upload data from us to you, but first, let's set the mood. The heat is on. You're currently in the middle of a sweat-pouring, grueling boss rush in a random arcade game in the corner of your local arcade. The sounds and music flooding your ears. The screen blinding you in madness. You're 10 quarters deep, and you have no quarters left in that plastic cup. How is this going to end? You're so close, you can taste it. The tomatoes, you're throwing and hurling at this yellow abomination, and finally, that last hit is struck. You are then rewarded with this text at this speed. At last, he's defeated the strongest enemy. He said, I'm sorry. I had total control of their minds and their bodies because I was sad and lonely. Don't do any more evil thing, so be a gentleman, and a lot of happiness will come to you. Yes, I understand. I would like to build a new kingdom to make up for what I have done. Karaskan was very tired because of much fighting. He is looking back at his memorable adventure and is returning home to his lovely home.
I love how you said that fast because of how fast it scrolls on the screen.
It's so fast.
It's like they don't want you to read it so fast.
You got to go through loop 2 to get the rest of it.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about that era is like the staggering lack of any English speakers on any translation team ever. Just nobody in the room saying, nah, guys, it's not right.
Or they did see it and they're like, perfect. Send it.
So it's funny because they have this position in a lot of companies because in Japanese culture, it's rude to disagree with your boss. And they usually get Americans because they don't care. And they will tell you what they think so that it's, not everybody is submitting to what the boss of the company thinks. And the sole purpose of this guy is to be like, no, that's a bad idea.
That's like me. That's why I don't get paid nearly enough.
No, I'm sure you don't.
All right, so before we get started, I just want to break the ice a little bit because we've had some crazy news happen this week in the world of gaming. One of which is a little bit funny. Guys, I feel the coolest I have ever felt in my entire life this week. You know why?
Why is
because
that?
the world's richest man, Elon Musk, wants to be us so bad that he's willing to cheat to get there.
Yeah,
Apparently.
I saw that.
Apparently he has a Path of Exile 2 account that he was streaming with that had 2 really high-level hardcore characters. But I guess when it got to, gameplay and people watching him, I guess he struggled with things like opening the map. Which I imagine in a top-down dungeon crawler, you have to do a lot. And it's probably one button.
Yeah. I'm not really sure what his thought process was with that. If you didn't want people knowing that you secretly had people power leveling your characters, you should probably know how to play the game at least.
Well, I think it was an article that I saw. His father said that the teachers in his school said that Elon was mentally handicapped, like as a child.
Oh boy.
They said the same thing about Albert Einstein, though.
Anyway, being a gamer is that cool. So,
We're all very cool.
And I wanted to ask, how do you all feel about cheats and cheat codes in general? Or like hacking
in a single player game, I don't mind. When it comes to online games, I'm like totally against it.
Yeah, if it's single player, what's it matter? I mean, it's just you. If it makes you have more fun, then who cares? It's not affecting anyone else, then sure. But if you're online buying accounts, I mean, what's the point? You're not that good, so why even do that?
Yeah, like for example, if I'm like, say, I don't play shooters, but to say if I did, and like over half the people are using like aim bots, it's like I don't even want to play it at that point. I like totally lose interest after that.
Yeah, well, I mean, in single player games, we need our big head mode,
Make easier
007.
targets. Yeah. I don't know. I kind of just don't have a history with cheat codes at all. Like, I just don't use them.
I
never
typically
really
don't
have.
either.
Maybe like level skip or like level select in Sonic once or twice. But yeah, no. There's like an audience for the cheats for like people that get mad at people cheating too. Like I'm thinking of like are you guys familiar with Pokemon Showdown at all? It's like where you can play essentially like Pokemon teams that you just create off the cuff.
So you don't have to raise them in game. Yeah.
So like people will cheat and they'll give like there's a Pokemon called Shedinja that it can't be dealt damage unless it's a super effective hit, and it has 1 HP. So its ability is called Wonder Guard. So they'll like staple that on something that has like almost no weaknesses and a ton of HP, and just watch people get mad.
Used to
So you
be
can talk to
Sableye.
each other and text each other.
What two typings have like the least amount of weaknesses?
Probably
Do you guys
Dark
know?
and Ghost.
Is
They
it?
used to not have a weakness until they introduced types later.
Yeah, just fairy type.
Less funny, but more interesting this week, we got our first glimpse at the Switch 2. Brad, you excited for Switch 2?
Yeah, I mean, the Switch 1 is... We've been waiting for so long. I mean, it's like every week someone's like, it's going to get revealed this week or it's coming soon, and it's actually finally revealed. It's kind of crazy. I mean, it's a pretty safe play, just kind of the same thing, just a little bigger, a little better for the most part, but I still think it's going to be pretty sweet.
I heard that the price tag was revealed to be like $450.
It's not
which
bad.
is like 150 more than the Switch was. Switch was $299.
Yeah. I mean, if the specs are a decent amount higher, it's not too bad. Considering like all the computer handhelds that are coming out now, that they're like $700-800. So, I mean, I guess you can get like a Steam Deck, like on the cheap end. I guess you get it for like $400 too as well.
Yeah, I mean, the price isn't really a big problem for me, but I'm excited to see what launch titles they're going to have other than Mario Kart 9.
Yeah. There's 3 words: Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah,
wait,
hopefully.
Beyond 4 words.
Is that what it's called?
I think so, right?
Oh, no.
I think
Metroid
so.
4 Prime Beyond or something like that.
I believe.
Dude, I can't wait.
Well, Prime 2 was Echoes, Prime 3 was Corruption, so...
So basically what we got from Nintendo was just this 2-minute quick like teaser trailer of this thing. But some of us are sleuths and a little freakier than others, and we've kind of determined some things about it. So I follow a couple different channels, and one guy basically was able to create a 3D printed version of what he believes this thing is going to exactly look like in relative exact measurements, because he essentially took the measurement of a Joy-Con and looked at the video and like calculated what percentage that it grew on the video, and was able to kind of get an approximate screen size. So he like 3D printed a shell of this
Dude,
thing
what a
for people
nerd.
to hold. So crazy.
Humans have been into outer space. We could do whatever we want. This man is spending his time.
And we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
But did you all notice it has like? So people keep saying there's a mouse feature. I missed it. Did you guys see that in the trailer?
I didn't see it. A mouse feature, really?
I think it was like real subtle because there were earlier leaks that alluded to that there was going to be the Joy-Con kind of works as a mouse, and at one point the Joy-Con like scurries across the table or whatever and has like the little I guess like the strap to look like a mouse tail. I think that's kind of like hinting at it, unless people are reading too far into it. But that's what I heard.
Yeah, I saw that and I thought that was just a stylistic choice. I didn't realize
Yeah.
that's what was going on.
Interesting.
That is interesting. and then they're speculating that there's this little button on the right Joy-Con that's like maybe not a button, maybe it's a sensor. I'm kind of thinking like maybe it's some kind of bootstrapped Wii Motion thing, so that we can get like Wii games on the Virtual Console eventually. Because the Wii's old enough, I'd say, right? Boy,
Yeah.
we're all old, huh?
Yeah. I'm just glad it looks like it's backwards compatible. I mean, I kind of figured it was going to be, but you never know. So I'm just glad that it is.
I'm gonna have to post my my Switch collection on the collections page that we have, because I have a ton of Switch games. I'm excited that it's backwards compatible.
Yeah, Brad, how many Switch games are you sporting?
Not a lot. I actually have a Steam Deck, so most of my gaming's on there. I do have a Switch that I place like mostly for the exclusives and stuff, or if you get on good sales and stuff, cheaper indie games. But I mostly use my Steam Deck just because
My
it's
boy,
pretty convenient.
he's like me.
I hope to pick one of those up soon, or something like it.
Yeah, you
Made
can
me
get
think
them.
of,
You can get them pretty cheap. Like I said, I think it's like $350, $400 for the cheapest. But I think they go all the way up to $800 if you want all the bells and whistles.
I think I'm actually eyeing the ROG Ally X, or whatever the latest model is going to be.
That's the
in a
black one,
couple
right?
months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to get over the hump on something I have to do like outside of work to like essentially keep my job. So in a couple months, I'll be looking at that.
Yeah. It is nice. It's Windows based, so if you're not like tech savvy with Linux, which is the Steam Deck, and I'm not, I don't really know much about Linux. So, and I also have a ROG Ally, and it's a lot user friendly because it's just basically Windows on a handheld, so you can just use it like a computer.
So do you guys think the Mario Kart that they showed in the trailer is Mario Kart 8? Because I heard somebody, like, I didn't see the Donkey Kong model, but somebody said the Donkey Kong model is apparently like from the movie, or looks like the movie Donkey Kong, therefore not the model that exists in Mario Kart 8. So do you think we got a glimpse at a potential Mario Kart 9?
It
I hope
reminded
so.
me of the Donkey Kong from the original Mario Kart, Super Mario Kart.
Haven't they been riding Mario Kart 8 for like a long time now?
Yeah, I think originally a Wii U game, then it got ported to the Switch, and then just keep
Yeah,
on
it was
adding on
like give
to it.
us Mario Kart 9, damn it! Like,
Hold up. Pump the brakes there, because some of the community actually is split on this, and they think don't make another Mario Kart ever. Just keep upgrading this one.
oh really?
Yeah.
See, I don't really play Mario Kart, so I don't really know. So is it like it must be that good then, huh?
Guess so.
It is good. I have it. I bought it for the Wii U, and I have it for the Switch because it came with all the DLC and stuff. So, but it has like a ton of courses, and it has a lot of characters, and I mean,
Fair enough.
the graphics still hold up. I mean,
I think
there's
it has
nothing wrong
every
with Mario
course
Kart
ever
8.
made, unless I'm totally off base here. I don't know.
think
Tell
it's
us in
every
the comments
course.
if I'm totally wrong, but I thought I heard it has every course ever made.
It's definitely a lot. They have the Smash Bros. Ultimate problem. It's like, where do you go from there now? It's like it has like so many carts, so many maps and stuff. It's like, what are you gonna do
Yeah.
next? You got to like do something different to make it worthwhile. Otherwise, you're just starting back over and rebuilding with more DLC. It's just kind of in a tough spot. So they really got to do something to keep it fresh, I feel like.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that big. I was gonna say I almost kind of like retract my statement because I didn't realize it was like Super Smash Brothers Ultimate of Mario Kart. So it makes
Yeah.
sense. It's been out for a while.
Well, I mean, I think like one of the things that they could do is change the way that the engine runs the game and makes some of the kart styles different. So if you prefer, maybe like, because not every racing game's the same, even though, and not even every Mario Kart plays the same. I feel like making another game with upscaled graphics but play a little bit differently is still worthwhile.
Yeah.
Or they could just put two racers in a cart. That's a good idea.
Hey, Double Dash is a fan favorite.
Oh, yeah,
I actually
love that
had
one.
Double Dash going at my New Year's party this year.
Nice.
So Double Dash don't die. Neither does Melee. All right.
Melee.
So just a couple of announcements before we move on to the question of the week. We've got our website up and running. So I've said that the last few episodes, but if you haven't been over there, go check it out. It's www.thecableclub.com. It'll be your basically central for all things Cable Club. You can check on the league status there. You can check out our guests, check out our episode backlog. It's all up there. Good stuff. Hopefully more good stuff to come. And of course, our Cable Club League is underway. This is now episode 7 of the league. So we're doing a year-long competition to find the best retro games. I say that plural because there's going to be multiple winners with multiple prizes. And we are booked out pretty far, but we still have a couple slots left. So if you are listening to this and you would like to get in on the action, go ahead and drop us an email at thecableclubpodcast@gmail.com or head over to our Discord. You can find both of these things in the description of this episode, or again on the website.
Yeah.
And then just shoot us a message. We're pretty friendly and we're pretty open to having people on the show.
Absolutely.
The more the merrier. And Dan, wait, not Dan, Brad, it was your question of the week. So Brad, I'm going to give you Dan's spot. You go ahead and take question of the week.
Oh man, sorry to take that from you.
All good.
All right. Well, yeah, the question I put up was, what's the game you spent the most time playing more than any other game? And we threw the caveat there. If it's an MMO, also pick one that's not an MMO because, MMOs pretty much take people's whole life sometimes. So
Yeah, time sinks.
yeah. And you want me to start it off?
Go for it. Guess first.
All right. Yeah, the game that I played more than anything would have to be Halo 3. Like when that came out, me and my brothers and stuff were playing Halo 2 a lot. So we're kind of just waiting for that to drop. Then when it came out, got it on release day, and we just played it. Like, I swear we put like 8-hour shifts in on that game. It was like I'd come home from school and play it until I'd go to bed and then wake up and do it again on the weekend. So we were like, I can't even tell you how many hours we put into that game. My brother Kyle and I, we would get accounts up to like level 50, like the highest level, and then sell them to people for Microsoft points. So yeah, we
Nice.
use that just to like buy games and stuff. But yeah,
Enterprising.
it was fun. So maybe Elon Musk bought a tag from us. I don't know, but I guess it's possible. But yeah, that's got to be my number one.
I'm going to go ahead and answer for Steve. Final Fantasy 11.
That would be both of us, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, sorry, I won't steal your thunder. Go ahead.
So picking a game that isn't an MMO, it would probably be Melee. I sunk so many hours into that in high school and then beyond. Like, Brawl came out and I played it for a little while, but then I went right back to Melee and I've been playing it since. So tons of hours with friends and a little bit of competitive, a little bit of everything. Just been playing it since it came out in 2001. So lots of hours, good times.
Good stuff. Yeah, I have a few answers. I know I played a couple MMOs in my time, like Final Fantasy 11, 14, Guild Wars 2, World of Warcraft. As for like non-MMOs, I'd say Dragon Quest XI's up there. I 100%ed that game, and then they came out with a definitive edition, and I haven't beat that one, but I got pretty far in that. It's like 200-hour ordeal if you try to 100% it. So if you add all that up, it's probably over 300 hours. Then you get like the Mega Man Battle Network series when we were all in high school. I grinded the crap out of that. I remember playing that a lot after school, trying to get like the best chips and whatnot. Yeah, and Smash is obviously up there too for me as well, because I put in a lot of time with you guys playing that. I think that's it.
So for me,
I'm going to go ahead and answer for Don. It's Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver.
no way, no. But for my MMO, it's Hearthstone for sure. There definitely was like a 5-year period of my life where that was the only game that I played.
Wait a minute, I'm surprised you guys didn't say Slay the Spire.
You know what? That's up there. Although I don't think I've reached, because like I
have over 1,000 hours in Slay the Spire, but it's not close to Melee.
Yeah, I wouldn't say so either, because Steve and I lived together in college, and we were like actively practicing Melee like basically all the time. Like we would go to bed playing it and wake up and start playing it again. Like I think Steve fell asleep once, and his hands were on the controller, and they were still like twitching, like his hands were still moving on it. You could still hear it. His character wasn't doing anything, but it was like
actually playing better.
Yeah, like he was still. His hands were still
This is
we used to be up
folks.
to like 3-4 in the morning playing this thing basically until we passed out. It's good times. Simpler days.
Ain't it the truth?
Early adulthood. So that's what we said. How about you? Raylica says Warframe. Yeah, I could see how you could get into that. You guys ever play Warframe?
I have not.
No.
No.
I don't even know what it is really.
It's a free Steam game, but before you like balk and be like, "Ooh, microtransactions mobile game," it is like a full-on 3D, first-person shooter with really good graphics, where you play as like one of, I don't know, there must be 100 of them by now, but they call them warframes, and they're essentially like remote-controlled robot ninjas. That the movement options in the game are stellar. Like you can like jump, roll through the air. I think they call it bullet jumping, where like you run, slide, and then jump like and do like a corkscrew through the air, and then you can hit a wall and jump off the wall, do a same corkscrew. Like you basically fly through levels as soon as you hit the jump while shooting and swinging your samurai swords and throwing your shurikens and everything. It's great.
Interesting. Yeah, I see that game on Steam a lot. So I never really knew what it was though.
It is really remarkable that it's free. Like how much you can do for it being free. It is grindy, like all free to play games, right? Like if you're not going to put money into it, it is grindy, but it is fun. And she says Borderlands franchise and Diablo series are up there too. That's because she's married to a guest we had on here, Chef Doug, and he's like one of the best Diablo players that I know.
Yeah.
And a game called Terra also consumed lots of hours. And even further back, Halo series on Xbox. Say, Brad.
Yeah, there we go.
Lycianthia says Guild Wars 1 and 2. MMOs take a lot of time, and that was my dedicated game series. Non-MMO is Tales of Symphonia. Multiple playthroughs, 60 to 70 hours each. It is a long game.
I've never finished it, but Dan and I have been very far together on it.
Yeah, I do remember that. We were over this kid's house playing it. It was good times.
Is that the GameCube one?
Yeah.
It's remastered on the Switch, and I kind of want to get it.
I think you can get it on Steam too.
Yeah, but the Switch is handheld. I don't have a Steam Deck, so I could play it in bed while my wife is asleep.
Hapney says, I honestly thought it was Breath of the Wild at 400 plus hours, but I went back and looked at Madden 20 stats, and it was in the mid-600s. Hapney never changed. You guys play sports games at all? I'm like a no-go on anything sports,
Nope.
sport diddly sports.
The one I kind of played a decent amount was anything hockey, because it's like fast-paced. I can't get into like football or baseball just because it's just too slow, It's like you got to wait for like pitches, or like a lot of time with football, you got to, pick your plays and whatnot. Like hockey, it's just constant action. You're passing the puck, shooting. There's no stoppage in play. So I mean, that's why I like it. It's just action.
The sports game that I probably put the most amount of time is we had an RBI baseball game on the Nintendo, and it came in a black cartridge, and my brother and I would play it all the time. But it was just fun. NES baseball.
I'd have to say Mario Power Tennis. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
I'm cheating. Do Mario sports games. That's about it for me.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Backyard baseball. Does anybody remember that?
I don't.
No.
It sounds
like-
familiar.
I think it was like originally PC, and I thought like it was, very, very rare to hear someone who have heard of it, but apparently there's a little cult following for it, and you play as child versions of all like famous baseball players across time. Like there's
neat.
like, tween-age baby Derek Jeter, and there's like, little Babe Ruth and stuff like that. And you get like these teams of people, and if you know what you're looking for, and it's like fun. It's like pitchers can throw like flaming fastballs or like balls that stick to the bat, and like.
Do you guys remember? I think it was called NFL Blitz, where like you can like literally like beat the crap out of each other when you tackle. You can like do like a suplex on somebody or do like a drop kick.
If they did suplex each other in football, I'd probably watch it.
Yeah.
Just saying. Lobaka says, I think for the involvement of it, most of the time I spent on a game was Travian, a browser-based MMO RTS. I played a couple of years, but involved a whole lot of coordination and stuff that I'm counting towards it as well. Although Pokemon Go feels like it's definitely in the running. Fearia was the most hours for me on Steam, currently at just over 300.
Interesting.
Lobaka's like our resident highbrow gamer. Like he just play like I feel like he's playing up here, and like I'm like down here like I love my Switch and my Mario game.
My Pokemans.
Yeah, my Pokemon. Jun Jordan says Pokemon X capped out at 1,000 hours.
So even more.
Yeah, for a good while, because it's the only gen where I got really into breeding and competitive battling. Other than that, countless hours sunk into Final Fantasy Tactics, the Madden franchise, OSRS, etc. My man.
Wow.
I did get into Pokemon breeding. It sucks. I'm glad you don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah. Or like
That's
the
why
EV training too was kind of crazy.
Yeah, now they have like I don't know what they call them, but they give you items to change EVs or
Yeah.
IVs on Pokemon.
Because I did it a little bit with you guys with Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and just like the breeding aspect where like it had to have like the right nature and all this other crap. I was like, oh my goodness, dude. Like,
Oh, and we were doing the baby version of it. We weren't going for IVs either.
yeah, that was the
like
other
a
one,
whole
the
ball of
IVs.
wax.
Yeah.
There's like complex formulas you had to go online and like plug in what the Pokemon Raider guy said, and then the exact stat at the exact level. And if you were too low a level, maybe you had it, maybe you didn't. Like it was just a nutty time.
Sounds like
Yeah.
a full-time job. That's too much work, man.
Yeah, it really is. I remember like, because I never really got crazy with that. So like anytime I leveled up, like the most I'd ever seen a stat was like 4 or something, or maybe 5. But then I started like EV training with these guys, and then I remember like having I think it was like a Breloom, and he like leveled up and got like 54 attack or something in one level. I was like, damn.
Well, I mean, at the time we were all single and just working our 40 and then just raising Pokemon. It was, it was just the guys hanging out every night. So
Yeah, we basically had like a bachelor pad apartment and a rotating like 8 or so guys that were just in and out, couch hopping.
Sounds
Yeah.
like fun.
well, I had over 800 hours on Heart Gold, which is why I answered for you on that one.
I did not like that remake. Still don't. Anyway,
Sorry.
with that, are you guys ready to get into this week's game?
Let's squawk and do it.
All right, Brad, my first question about JJ Squawkers is, who hurt you? You do a podcast about arcade games that are like some of the most brutal games out there. Like people think Dark Souls is hard. That's because they didn't go to arcades and spend real money to get their asses handed to them repeatedly.
Well,
like-
that's a good thing today, though. We don't have to spend real money. You just play it on an emulator, and you don't got to actually pay the credits. That makes it a lot more enjoyable, I'd say, these days.
Yeah, because if I had to find a local arcade with this
Right.
into play for
So
the next 2
we
weeks.
have this place in Knoxville where I live called Main Event, and they have like bowling and they have like laser tag and stuff, but they also have an arcade, and you buy credits, but it's like maybe $50 for 200 credits or something like that. All the games take like 10 credits. Like
Jeez.
your credits are gone so fast.
Oh, there's some
Jeez.
funny math going on.
It's like a Dave and
nowadays.
Buster's type deal. It's really
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, there's some funny math going on nowadays with those little cards. So
What makes me mad is I see all over they call them. It says arcade or game room, and you'd go and check it out, and it's those stupid skills machines that you put money in to try to win. It's like gambling. Like, I want a real arcade. This is stupid.
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Nothing
giant
makes me
phone
more than
games.
that. Giant phone. Yeah. It's not
Yeah.
much better.
Flappy Bird or whatever, Flappy Bird.
Or Fruit Ninja
Yeah.
on like a big giant screen. Sad, sorry state of affairs.
Yeah, I want my Raiden.
I know. Good stuff. Or X-Men. X-Men.
Yeah, the X-Men arcade game. Yeah. All right, Brad, tell us about JJ Squawkers.
All right, JJ Squawkers is a side-scrolling platformer, kind of a run and gun. I mean, you technically can't run and shoot at the same time as you can in a lot of run and guns. It kind of makes you stand still in this game, but I still classify it as a run and gun. You're just moving from side left to right, killing everything in your way. There's different power-ups you can get, different weapons, and you can upgrade them. And I mean, there's not much to a story here, as we heard from the Setting the Mood there earlier. You just start as a bird, and your house gets bombed, and you're pretty much out for revenge. You're just over there to kill all the bad guys and take out all the bosses. And it's just a kind of a crazy game. There's bright colors and trippy graphics, and I don't know. It's definitely a unique one, I'd say.
Oh, for sure.
Your intro in the first level is like seeing this guy in this white mouse costume, like going to town on this tree.
Yeah, he's going ham on that tree, dude.
Yeah, he's tearing that tree up, man. Get out of his way.
And so he's in like a white, like picture like a white full body
Is that a
mouse
rabbit suit?
onesie.
Or is it a mouse?
I think it's a mouse because the ears are like circular, kind of like Mickey Mouse ears. And then like he has a human face. I went looking for this guy. So they
Did you
did
find
an
him
episode.
downtown? How much did he cost?
they did an episode on it on Arcadiology, and you guys never found out who this guy was, right?
Nah, nope.
So I'm like, oh, let me go find pictures of the dev team and see if I can get it, get somebody who even mildly looks like this. And I can't. This one guy that has like a little bit of like a beak, he's got a little bit like a hook nose, kind of like this guy does, and I'm trying not to profile him like that, but I think it might be him. Because I feel like whenever you see something like that, it's always a dev or something, right?
Yeah, usually.
Really, really mysterious game we have here.
Yeah, it's incredibly rare game from what I saw. There weren't very many machines made, so if there's some out there, you're probably not going to find them.
Yeah, how did you find it?
I mean, it kind of gets into our podcast. We play arcade games every 2 weeks, but I created a giant list of just because I have a arcade, like a modded arcade 1-up, so I have like 10,000 arcade games on there. So I just kind of went through the whole list and curated a list of ones that looked interesting or ones that I known to be good or like kind of popular ones. And this one just stuck out to me, just the graphics and the name. I was like, this looks kind of crazy. So I put it in our list. And then my brother Kyle picked it for us to play it 1 week. So then I just ended up really liking it. So it's one that stuck with me.
Oh, so you found it like recently?
Yeah, maybe a year and a half at tops, maybe a year ago.
Here I was thinking you found it at like your local Chuck E. Cheese or something, like back when you were a kid.
Yeah, that'd be something. But no, this is a newer game for me too.
Oh man.
Some of those special weapons are pretty crazy, huh? Like the slinky sneakers.
Yeah, man,
Like,
I love
that. Was like my favorite like weapon to use. It was strong. Like
Yeah, I was split between the tomato and the slinky.
the tomato's
sneakers.
good too. Like when you get it like to turn it into the pumpkin or whatever, that thing slaps.
Well, it's like not limited by anything. You can hit the button as many times as you want, and they're huge. And projectiles in this game, most of them can be destroyed by your own projectiles. So having a big projectile that's fast and powerful is just like really good.
Oh really? Wait, does it not get affected by the what is it called? The excess shot?
That just makes you throw them faster.
Oh well, I thought it was like it limited like the number that was on the screen, so you could have like more
maybe,
of them.
With the way that it curves, like you could just like throw them real fast.
Yeah, I don't know if it affects the tomatoes or not, but yeah, like you said, like if you get the excess shot for like the slinky shoes, normally you can only have 3 out at a time, but if you upgrade it, then you can get, I don't know their number, probably like 6 or something. You can get a lot more out, so you kind of, I don't know how it would affect the tomato though, since like Steve was saying, you can just keep spamming it, so I don't know how that would matter.
It's definitely
I absolutely mashed fast enough to go 1, 2, 3, and then start firing blanks before.
I mean, I think it's the best power up in the game. The excess shot for like a lot of the weapons, like I know, like say for like the final level, like the second to last boss with the slinky shoes, he's pretty hard to like keep in the corner. Was just like the base speed, but like if you ever got the excess shot, like you could like have him in that corner and basically keep him there. So I mean, it was definitely my favorite power up. But this game had like a decent amount of power ups, I believe. Like obviously different weapons. You could get like a screen clearing thing too for like
Exploder.
Yeah, or you get invulnerability or extra vitality or an extra life.
Yeah. How many arcade games have you guys played that you can get at a 1-up?
I know, right?
I was surprised.
I mean, you can usually get them by points. I feel like something like that.
Yeah, but it's usually
pinball,
ridiculous.
Pac-Man.
It's usually ridiculous points.
In like pinball and
I
stuff.
get an extra life in Pac-Man on level 1. I'm a monster. But we're kind of getting a little ahead of our skis on this. I want to talk about the things that immediately hit you when you turn this game on. Like, the visuals are insane, like totally bonkers. The first level I think is kind of okay, but I think the game looks good. Like, I think the character animations are fluid, especially for the time where like some games were getting published for home consoles and maybe the main character had, a single digit number of sprites to represent movement still. I feel like the characters all move pretty nicely. Do you guys more or less agree?
For the most part, I mean, except for like when you jump, it's like you're kind of committed going in that direction. It's not my favorite way to move, but like I understand, like they want to restrict you at least somewhat because give me them quarters, right?
It's not as bad as a Belmont, though.
I was just about to say, I'm glad you brought it up because I have a scale that I came up with while playing this game that I want to introduce to this show. It is the Castlevania to Contra scale of jumping. That Castlevania being the worst. If you jump towards doom, you are doomed. And Contra being the best, that you pretty much have full control as soon as you leave the ground. This game is like in the middle, but very much toward the Castlevania side, I would say. I don't know if you guys feel that way.
I feel the same way. Exactly that.
Yeah, there's a little bit of play in the air, but not as much as you'd like. But I mean, when you get used to it, you play it enough, it's kind of like you can. I mean, I guess even Castlevania works that way if you get used to it. But yeah, it's at least you get a little bit of adjustment in the air to try to save yourself sometimes.
It's fine everywhere except the space level.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of death pits in this game until that. And then that whole level's like one giant death pit.
Yeah, I'd say they have some death pits in the first level at the water, in the second level, in between where those white elephant looking things come at you before you go on the bouncy things. And then in the third stage, you have them at the moving blocks. So every level has some, but...
Yeah, they really step it up for the space level there, the whole thing. You're just constantly hoping you don't fall to your death.
Level 5. Level 5 doesn't have
none there. Huh?
Doesn't need it. And if the sentences that Steve just spoke make little sense to you, don't worry. That is the way this game looks. Little flying pink elephant fairies, little... I think the first level, like the flying chipmunk guys that come after you, I think they have bee stingers. Like when I go back and look at them, they almost look like they have like bee butts and bee stingers.
It wouldn't surprise me.
They're coming down.
If someone said that to me, I'd be like, sure, yeah, probably.
This game is LSD fueled, man. Like, for sure. If I've ever seen it.
Yeah. Some of the backgrounds are pretty trippy, too.
Well, it's got to compete with all those other arcade games to these kids,
Yeah.
Will definitely grab your attention at a glance.
I thought the music was actually... Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's got bangers, because when we talk about bangers, we're talking about a specific subset of games. But I think, like, the level music is pretty good. That level 5 music is god-awful, and that can just go away. But
the boss theme.
Levels
I was just going to say that's the only one I really remember. It's
like a 10-second loop, and it took me, like, 45 minutes to beat that last boss gauntlet the first time I played it, so just 45 minutes of that straight. Just hearing it for 3 days.
Oh man.
So Brad, give us some tips and tricks, because like I couldn't beat this, like I kept choking, and like almost every run I did was I think the best I got was like 4 quarters total.
I mean, I know you said you listened to our episode, but my biggest tip was just don't die, because, I mean, it was a big joke, but I mean, there's some truth behind that, because the moment you die, in some games like a beat 'em up, say like Ninja Turtles, if you die and you come back, you're not any worse than before you died. You're just the same character with the same set of moves. In this game, if you die, you lose your power up. Like if you upgraded your tomatoes to a pumpkin, or if you have the excess shot so you can kind of spam faster. Once you die and come back, and it's like you have nothings, and it makes the game just like 10 times harder. So, I mean, that's obviously don't die. It's going to be easier, but it's actually kind of, there's some logic to it there. But I don't know. It's kind of, you got to find the power up that works for the stage, I guess. All of them are pretty viable, but depending on like some of the stages, I think it's better to start off with certain things, because just like the way the enemies come at you. Like I like to start level 2 off, like with the slinky shoes, because it's kind of easy to get the enemies before they get to you, because that weapon, it kind of like crawls across the ground. So if you launch it, even if there's not enemies like right immediately in front of you, it'll kind of keep crawling across the screen until it hits them. So you just got to have the situational weapon, and kind of sometimes you get screwed over if you jump into a weapon that you don't want. Then it's like, this kind of messed up my whole run. It's like now I have the screw and it's not upgraded and it's kind of hard
Nobody
to
likes
use.
the screw.
Dude, it's actually
I
ended up being my favorite
like the
weapon.
screw.
If you have the upgrade, that's what I play with every time. If I get the upgrade with that, because it gives you a second little bird above you that also shoots every time you shoot. So you can really just clean house with that thing.
It
My
does
thing
a
about
lot
this-
of damage, but
Yeah.
it really like I don't know. Like
But
I feel
not
like
much,
this
not
game
much
lends
more than the tomato.
No, but
And the tomato arcs, so you can hit enemies that are lower than you. And the tomato, you can spam it as fast as you want. Like it's a downgrade of the tomato in my opinion. Unless you have the upgrade, double screw or triple screw is good.
I would say like single screw is like kind of not that great.
Yeah.
But like if you get like a second one or even a third one, if you're lucky, then it's like amazing. But I would
High risk, high reward.
Yeah, I would definitely say the shoes and the pumpkin are definitely better than the single screw at least. And then maybe like having 2 screws is probably up there with the pumpkin and the shoes. But if you have 3, I think it's the best weapon in the game.
Did you upgrade the slinkies to the gears at all?
Yeah, it becomes worse.
I didn't like it. Did
You
you?
didn't
me
like it?
neither.
I
It
did.
was such a trap.
The range on it is abysmal.
Yeah, I guess
felt
it's not
like.
as good. It's every time you hit shoot though, it shoots 2 out instead of 1. So I mean, I don't know. If you get close to something like a boss and spam it on them, it really shreds them.
Yeah, because I had it in stage 5 where I actually got the upgrade in one of my lives, and then I don't know, it just wasn't doing as good as like the shoes. I mean, it could have been like skill issue for sure.
I think like it normally in a game, I think it's unfavorable when your weapon like does something weird like an arc. Like the tomato in another game I think would be problematic. But in this one, the way that enemies are and how they're positioned and like how they move in weird patterns, it's like perfect. Like what you don't want is something that shoots straight. Like the screw. Like when you shoot up and it shoots directly up, you're like, oh yeah, no, this is bad for business. Like every enemy comes at you from northeast, northwest, like they're all, diagonal directions. And it just ends up getting you killed a lot, I feel like.
Yeah, and some of the movements are pretty sporadic too, so you kind of don't know which, like they'll be coming above you, then all of a sudden it like jolts off to the right, down, then it's coming up underneath you. It's like, dude, I don't even know how to kill this
games.
thing. Yeah.
And it's Left 4 Dead levels of enemy spam. Like you come around the corner and there's just like rabbits, like 50 of them.
Yeah,
Joking.
There was times where like I try and take my time, like traversing the screens, but then it gets to a point where like you start getting swarmed, and then I'm just like, F it, I'm running. And the screen's like lagging and all this stuff because I'm just trying to run through this whole area with all these enemies trying to get me.
I did not find that strategy to work. Most of the enemies are faster than you.
It worked for me, at least a little bit. I mean, obviously I died quite a few times, but like
these enemies are relentless too. They'll chase you as far as the game lets them.
Such a long, what do they call it? Tracking or buffering or whatever it is. Like in some games around this era, if the enemy leaves the screen, it's dead. In this one, dude, I feel like in the is it the 3rd level where you have the blocks with the eyeballs?
Yep.
Those?
Yeah.
So before that, there's these weird flying shapes. And like before I developed a strategy for that, those things would mess me up like basically every time. And sometimes I ran from them, and you're faster than them, so I would get really far ahead of them, and I'm like, oh dude, no way, this is like a game from 1993. That thing totally just despawned, right? And I'd be down dodging the eyeball platforms, and the thing would come from off screen and kill me still. And this is way later in the level, and I'm like, I can't believe that thing followed me all the way here.
What's everybody's favorite level?
Like gameplay wise, I like stage 3. Like that one was pretty fun. I mean, that was the one I actually like the music too. And like you said, there's like a lot of different things going on with that stage. Like when you first start off, normally you'll probably just go to the right and you fight like this little astronaut yellow guy. I don't know if you guys fought him. He like shoots rockets at you. but you can actually avoid him if you go up. There's like kind of a second path you can go and go like up above and skip like a big chunk of that level. And I like the those moving blocks. It just kind of changes up the gameplay. That level was pretty fun.
Yeah.
There's like an alternate path sort of in the first 3 levels, I feel like, right?
Definitely the first. Although I don't know why you would take the bottom path, but yeah, there is an
First
alternate
and
path.
third.
First and third.
I don't know any side paths in the second level or the fourth level.
Oh yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. The bottom path on the first level is a big no-no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
That's punishment down there.
And like
Touching the banana peel is bad.
I would get greedy because I wanted the double power up, so I'd hit the guy up top, grab his power up, and then slip on the banana peel on purpose to go on the bottom and try to get that guy's power up too. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. You won't get out alive.
What's your favorite level, Dan?
I would say I kind of enjoyed the space level, even though there's a lot of jumping involved. I do enjoy that level, but I don't know if it's my favorite. Level wise, it probably is, but I would say the boss gauntlet from 5, barring the music, is probably my ultimate favorite, because it's just, I don't know, having to fight all the bosses, and then you have all like the enemies coming at you in between the bosses and stuff like that. I just, I died a crap ton on that part, but I had a lot of fun the first time going through that.
I agree with Dan. I love myself a good boss rush at the end of a game. I don't understand people that hate boss rushes. But I guess that comes with the territory of being a lifelong Mega Man fan. But like, how much better of a climax can you get in a video game than having like a roundup of all the bosses you've previously fought? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I just love that. Some people call it lazy, but
It's a good thing that there's checkpoints in between every boss that you fight and kill. That'd be a pretty crazy boss rush if like you had to do that whole thing on one set of credits.
2 hits.
Yeah.
I think that my favorite might be, it's either stage 2 or stage 3, but I actually think stage 2 is pretty cool, so I'll go with that one.
They have some unique stuff in stage 2. Like you got those marbles that you like bounce off of that are kind of make a weird loud sound, and they got those like little cage things that have like a crunchy texture feel to them where you can like feel it as you're hitting it. It's like kind of crunches down. It's
Oh
cool.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
This game does not skimp on, I'll say, most of the visuals. I'm convinced some of the assets are just recycled things from other games or maybe leftovers, but I think like the backgrounds are stunning. Like it's definitely some kind of modern art going on there, or it's just random mishmash. But this was before AI, so I think it was somewhat deliberate by the art team to set up these backgrounds in the manner that they did, and they don't repeat. It's not just like like a city in the background and just like the same loop of buildings. It's like one giant long, I'm gonna call it a collage. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Like random things. There's like a girl's face. There's a tire. There's like, I don't know. Help me out here, guys.
I think there was elephants at one point. Like, yeah, it's crazy.
You could pretty much say anything. We'd probably believe you at this point. So
yeah.
A penis for sure. More than one. Go back and look. You don't have time to admire it your first romp through. It's way too chaotic. You're like, oh god, they're coming at me.
I'm not gonna tell you where it is. You gotta play it to find out.
And there's a time limit, so
yeah.
The time limit was not an issue. Like I barely knew it was there. Did you guys run out of time?
I did when I first played because I thought that the pause button was actually pausing the game. Because once you clear all the enemies off screen, nothing that you've activated yet will come to get you. So I cleared the screen, thought I hit the pause button on the emulator, and I was talking to somebody on Discord, and I tabbed back over, and I was like running out of time. But normally playing, no, I didn't.
At one point it would have been stage 3, you get to the moving block section, and it freezes your time because that's like an auto scroll. You can't actually like progress the screen; it just kind of moves on its own. I was messing around on that stage, and I made it to that section with 1 second left because I thought I was going to time out. As soon as I hit that, then my time froze at 1 second, and then I got the whole way through because your timer doesn't count down. Then when you get to the boss, I think it reset the timer, so I ended up making it through without running out of time, just on one last second up because of that.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I noticed that they gave you extra time on a boss.
Yeah, I think the timer would reset in stage 5. Like every time you cleared a wave, you'd get a new timer.
Yeah.
Like it'd be like a minute and a half to fight off the ads and the and the boss that was showing up.
Yeah, I'd imagine. I don't think of all the playthroughs that I did and the ones that I saw from you guys, I don't think I've ever seen any of us time out on the boss rush.
Well, it's an arcade game. They don't want those kids clearing the screen and leaving it there for some other kid to pick up. You got to earn it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. As far as like the power-ups go too, or wait, I want to circle back on the enemies for a second. So there's like really crazy enemy roundup of like gophers with manhole covers, robot gophers with manhole covers, rabid bunnies, a weird trippy eldritch flower thing in the first level, rockets, baseball cap wearing robots that shoot rockets. Like it's just
Flying statues in space and
the constellations.
yeah. Or like that fish thing that like does like the little dance or whatever. Like
I think that's
in this
Pisces.
I'm going to save everybody a huge headache that listens on the audio platform. You should check out the YouTube video that we're going to post, because it's going to have some gameplay and you're going to see everything we're talking about. It'll be still very confusing.
Or just go play it. I don't know. Like, I know it has that arcadey feel, but as far as arcade games go, I might actually put this in my must-play category just because it's so odd that, like, I can't, I'm struggling to describe it, basically.
Yeah. It's a quick playthrough, too. I mean, even if it's your first time, you could probably get through it in an hour max, even if you're, like, not even that good.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't even know how long it took me. It probably took me, like, 30 minutes? I would say. So,
yeah,
something like that. It's short.
So, I think you rated it rather highly in your own personal list, Brad.
Right.
I think you guys compared it to games like Metal Slug, which I think is fair, because it does kind of have that run and gunny, not as much platformy type of feel.
Yeah.
So, when you compare it to a game like that, and I think you rated it above Metal Slug, like, what's some of the thought process there? What kind of leads you to that conclusion?
I mean, kind of a lot of stuff we said about just like the craziness of it, how unique it was. I really liked the weapons, like how different they were, and like the upgrade system was pretty cool. And like compared to Metal Slug, like that game is out to kill you. Like I feel like it doesn't let up. This one, I feel like you have a little more control over what's going on, even though some of the segments we talked about get a little hectic. I just felt like, to me, this was more fun. And I felt like I don't know if I want to say it's easier, but I could like master it better than I could like Metal Slug. I couldn't imagine trying to beat that in like a low amount of credits. And just, I don't know, it was such a random game. I just, not too sure. Metal Slug, I just recently played that too for the first time, so I don't have any nostalgia going back to Metal Slug. But yeah, this was a better run and gun in my opinion.
And Metal Slug is a lot more of like a bullet hell style game.
Yeah.
Whereas this, being able to cancel out other attacks with yours kind of helps mitigate that if you're not as fond of a bullet hell style game.
And ducking. I didn't duck nearly enough. Brad gave me the tip to duck those manhole chucking robot gophers. But yeah.
Yeah, that was about the only time I found it useful to get under those so they don't hit you in the head.
Yeah, and there were a couple other segments. I don't know, whenever shit started to hit the fan, I had a tendency to duck and cover and kind of get low and try to make myself a really small hitbox. I actually really enjoyed that bean weapon, the one that splits. I know that might be the least popular one. But I got that thing fully upgraded. And man, if you hit bosses with all 5 of the beans that come out, it is a lot of damage. They don't scale back the damage on those things very much at all, as a single hit. It's just crazy. The final boss, if you thought it couldn't get any trippier by the time you get there, man, you guys on your podcast took the words right out of my mouth, because the minute I saw him, I was like, oh, he's a South Park Canadian.
He's yellow and he's shaped like a heart, and he's a bastard
who throws
the hardest
utensils.
Boss, easy.
Yeah,
easy.
He
Especially
reminded me
in
of
that stage.
Homestar Runner. I don't know if you guys ever watched that.
Yeah. And then he turns into Trogdor.
So what were you guys' strategies for that one? Because he's the hardest boss by far, in my opinion.
Spray and pray.
Yeah, pretty much. Get the excess shot with the slinky shoes, and hopefully I can just keep him in the corner.
Yeah. You try to I don't know. I would try to like, because he starts out as like a little purple muncher thing, and you can kind of hit that and direct where he's going to come out. So I would kind of try to get him on one of the platforms, because I knew that he locks himself up sometimes, and I can get a lot of damage into him, and sometimes kill him if his AI doesn't do the right thing. But I don't know. I'm gonna let Brad tell me what the real strategy is, but I was basically coin flipping every time I fought him.
Yeah, I mean, I've played through it many times at this point, but my optimal strategy is to get the screw with the bird up, like the little extra bird upgrade. If you just crouch and just keep on shooting, even when he's shooting like all of his little spoons and forks or whatever come flying at you, usually you have enough firepower to break through those and hit them as they're coming through. And just, I was playing it today, replaying it, and I sat on the one platform. I just had the slinkies. I didn't even have it upgraded at all, and I just like kept on throwing it down. And it was, I don't know if I just got lucky, but he just stood there like right in front of one of the other platforms, and he would just jump up, land. I'd hit him like 3 times. He'd jump up, land, hit him 3 times. He didn't like do anything to me. I just had him in like this weird little stun. I don't know if that's easily repeatable, but that seemed like a really easy way to do it.
That's what I was doing.
Okay.
I got the Slinky Shoes today. I got a 3-credit run, and I jumped on the left side of the rightmost platform, and I had positioned him in the bottom right of the screen before he transformed from the Piranha to the Homestar Runner. And I just ducked and spammed the Slinky Shoes, and it kept like slinking across the platform and coming down and hitting him. And every time he'd jump up, he'd just jump back down and then jump up and then jump back down. And I was able to consistently beat him with that.
Very nice. I felt like the last boss though is kind of a joke compared to that one. I don't know
Oh,
if
you mean his final form?
Yeah, it's like it's all based off of like the audio cues. If like you know when he's about to open his mouth by he does like a raw, and then if he does like the do, 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 you know he's going to be charging you. So if you listen to those two
you better be on a
sounds,
platform though, because you will not dodge the charge if you are not already on your way or on top of a platform.
yeah. Well,
I like how
that is
big
true.
his eyes are.
Yeah. But when I figured that out, like if you just listen to those two sounds, it's like he almost never hit me after that.
Yeah,
I'd
if you
say
have
he's
the
easier.
upgraded birds, you can spam him before he even does anything. You can kill him. He just kind of like sits still and just like keeps on like hopping back as you hit him, and he won't even move. He doesn't even get a single attack off. So
Yeah,
that's why I still think that's
some
the
of the
best.
weapons have some pretty good knockback on the bosses, where it, like pushes them back when you hit them. Like I imagine the
pumpkins,
screws are
dude.
pretty like multiple screws. I've never got multiple screws, but I imagine the knockback on that is pretty godlike.
And the
These
range
two
of it.
ravens got arms on them, man. If you were trying to take pumpkins at that speed, you'd be knocked back too.
Pumpkins are heavy.
Well, he's got some pretty ripped arms. You get to actually see the bird at the end in his weird little Robotnik legs. And he's got this like giant, big, muscly arm on this big round body.
It's like he's throwing all the pumpkins with one arm. He's like Quagmire.
He has 2 muscly arms. Obviously, he does some farming.
Yeah, it's just a joke about the throwing arm.
So after you beat this game, there's a second loop that Brad made me aware of pretty early on, and Steve was the first of us 3 to beat it. But man, it's a lot different, huh?
Yeah, it gets brutal. Some of those sections are tough. There's just so many more enemies, and they're so much faster. They changed it up
not
like
as
the
much fun,
screen a
though.
little bit too, like kind of the color just to differentiate it a bit.
Oh yeah, the colors are all different, I thought.
No, they are. I know,
Yeah.
like the first level, the water's I think it's red instead of blue on the second loop.
Blood from your last run.
From my
because
enemies.
if you go down there and you see the water, you know you're screwed. But they also changed the location of stuff. So when I was doing the second loop, in that third level, I like to jump on top of the level and skip the robot. In the second loop, there's a robot up there.
He's waiting for you. Can't escape from that time.
Not getting through here again without fighting me. And then, like, there's 2 of those weird eldritch flower things, I think, in the first level.
Yeah.
You have to fight 2 of those. There's kind of like a little mini boss in every level, I feel like. Like, every level kind of has, like, a halfway... I mean, not boss, but, like, some weird enemy that takes more abuse than other
Yeah.
ones. Maybe not the second level. The second level doesn't have one.
No, they have a bunch of them.
Would you consider
Those,
like
little steamship things? They take so many hits.
yeah, or like
Oh,
the
jeez.
the constellation, the guy with the sword and his two dogs? Would you consider him like a mini boss?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's rough.
I think it's funny because it's like the dogs will actually they'll chase you relentlessly, just like what Don was saying with like those stars or whatever. They won't let up, but like you can kill them obviously, and the guy with the sword, like literally he just sits there like I don't know for like 10 seconds, won't do anything, but like eventually he'll like lunge at you and swing his sword at you, and I remember it caught me off guard and he like wrecked me.
No, the dogs took a lot of lives off me.
Yeah.
That one spot was particularly bad. And the boss of that level, like the three-headed dragon, I didn't have a problem with that phase. And I didn't have a problem with the second phase mostly. But like if he's flying towards you, so like basically I'm trying to think of, so he starts out as Ghidorah,
Yeah.
which is like three-headed flying dragon, and then he turns into like Shenron from Dragon Ball, like big long Japanese dragon.
Was it Volvo from Ocarina of Time?
Volva?
Volva, that's what it is.
No, that's not that.
Well, it's kind of like it's like a serpent snake thing.
God damn it, Dan. Get it together, man.
No, Dan, it's not Volva.
Oh.
It's not Volva.
Oh, I don't know what his name. It's Vol something.
It's Volvasia.
Oh,
Volgina? Yes. All right.
voluptuous.
So when he's flying at you, it seems like when you hit him, it redirects him. Sometimes, because sometimes he would just tank that and go right through me, and I kind of banked on it redirecting him.
Yeah, I don't know, but I assume he was supposed to get knocked away every time he hit him. I didn't really notice too much. I
I
just
think
kind
you
of
have to
crouch
do
and
enough
spam.
damage.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
The
Yeah, I think you have
biggest,
to do enough
the
damage
biggest
to him.
thing I remember about that boss is the sound effects is when you hit him.
Oh, the sound effects are rough.
God, the screaming like.
It, it adds to the allure of the game.
Like-
especially if you get like two in a row, it's just like overlapping each other. The sound
It's
effects.
because you guys know the meme where, or the episode of SpongeBob where the guy's sitting at the Krusty Krab and he's turned with the Krabby Patty in his hand and he's like angry. It's because they want everybody in the arcade to look over at the screen every time the dragon screams.
I know. Each head has like 3 lives, basically. They're like, rah, rah, rah. It's basically
Yeah.
like a squirrel fighting a cat. That'd be the way I would describe it. Your character makes the same noise when they die, I think.
You
right?
might too, but we'll
Supposed
never
to.
know.
It might depends on what's killing me.
A 3-headed dragon.
Nutty title we have here. All right. So Brad, what do you feel like the chances are of this winning the league?
The winning, there's no chance it's gonna win. I would say, but
You never know.
all right, let me explain real quick. I wouldn't have changed my game, but I did slightly misunderstand your rating system when you said there's gonna be like different tiers. I don't even remember how you ordered it. I thought you meant there's like different categories. Maybe there's like a section for like RPGs. Maybe there's a section for games that look the best. Maybe there's a section for really random games. You know, I was shooting for that bracket. I didn't know it was just like a top to bottom of best of worst games, but we'll see what happens.
So it's not really. So there are cups, right? So it is like games across genres versus games, and we'll kind of figure out the rating system as we go. But essentially the tiers are their own competitions. So really, no matter what this game winds up in, it'll wind up, against theoretically comparable games.
Right.
So, it doesn't have to be the best game all year, basically, is what
Yeah,
we're saying.
so like the best game all year is going to be the winner of Master Cup or Master Ball Cup. But this might end up in, Ultra
Just
Ball
say it.
or Great Ball Cup, and it could win inside those cups too. Hey, I'm just saying.
Ultra
you
Ball,
even
huh? Damn.
Wow.
Hey, we do have, 18 games left, so
Yeah, never know. See what comes your way.
This was a game that I never expected to get in this competition, which I guess is kind of the fun of it,
Yeah.
right? That like somebody can bring something like this in.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of what happens, I appreciate you bringing it. I've never even heard of this game, and despite everything that we've been saying about it, I did have fun playing, and I'm having fun right now talking about it. So I do appreciate you bringing that forward for us.
Yeah,
I
that's a
like
win
to play
right
new
there.
games.
Spread the good
absolutely.
word of JJ Squawkers.
That's right. Gotta preach the word.
It needs to
Squawk
get
about
a
it.
Switch NSO port
Yeah.
so you can bring it over to another podcast that we talk to
Yeah.
frequently.
You know what we didn't
too.
talk about? Because I didn't do it, but it has 2-player.
Yeah.
It's not
We
great.
should've-
I did try 2-player. It's rough.
Okay.
I
How
mean,
is it rough?
it's just
What
tough
happens?
because the way, I mean, since I was playing it, obviously at my own pace, you're kind of running, and I kind of figured out the stages, when to move forward, when to kind of jump, and you're just kind of rushing through when you figure out the game. When you bring a second person in, they're not always on the same page as you, so you gotta you're pulling the screen forward, they're kind of holding you back. So just kind of that multiplayer problem there with old
Maybe
games.
that was a partner problem.
That's possible too.
Maybe. Yeah, that's
You're
where
both
the
on the same
auto
page.
scroller comes in very handily. With,
Yeah.
when you have 2 players.
Well, the new Mario games that do multiplayer, they do the same thing. So finding a teammate that works well with you is really valuable in those games. And I think double the firepower is probably pretty dang good in this one.
I wonder
Do
if
they do anything like give you double boss or anything
Yeah, that's
like
what
that?
I was saying. Do they scale it depending on 2 players?
I don't think, not that I noticed. It seems like the exact same game. There's just 2 of you instead. Pretty
Wow.
sure. I could be wrong, but that's what I noticed.
I think a fair amount of like beat 'em ups, arcade beat 'em ups, I think they increase the boss HP when you have multiple people.
I
Yeah.
think
They
so.
also usually give you more enemies too. Usually double up on you.
Dude, imagine
Um,
doubling up on those enemy waves in level 5 if you had 2 players.
Ugh. Jesus.
You just can't see anything. I actually didn't find this game slowed down a whole bunch, except when bosses died. When the stars started spraying, that's like when I experienced.
I
slowdown.
noticed a
That
little
could be
bit
an
of
emulator
slowdown
thing.
if you like tried to run from enemies, because like you were saying, they don't despawn, so like they'll chase you, and eventually there's just so much crap on the screen where it's just like it starts lagging a little bit.
Yeah, I only had slow down when I ran from enemies.
Or on the second loop when there's so many enemies that definitely catch some slowdown there in certain sections. They're just like, there's nothing you can do about it. There's so many on the screen at once.
Yeah, I played the second loop once and I got bodied. I did beat it eventually, but oh man, I don't even know how many quarters I used to beat it. I lost count, and it was probably one of my better single runs. So yeah, this last couple weeks we issued a challenge in our Discord to play this game and see how many quarters everybody could beat it on. We had a couple people playing along with us, but I think only one really reported in, who was Lysianthia at 6 credits.
Pretty
6,
good.
right? Okay,
It's pretty
okay,
good.
You're all, yeah. I don't want to take any away from him because it is really hard. I think my best was 4. What do you guys got?
I never actually counted, but like if I had to like guesstimate, I would probably say around 10 to 15.
Oh well, if I had to guesstimate 1,
Yeah, I mean, I know I didn't get single digits.
in my educated opinion, some of the deaths weren't fair. So
Yeah.
one.
So this was obviously the first time being exposed to this game. I beat it probably 6 or 7 times over the last 2 weeks, and my lowest score was 3 credits.
Yeah, I didn't beat it that many times. I just was too busy this week. But like, yeah, that's 4 and 3 is
17
pretty,
minutes, bro.
that's pretty impressive.
And I, of course, I got down to 1 credit. I mean, for our
Wow.
podcast, I played it a lot, and I just replayed it to like this week because I was like, all right, I can't just reuse my score from last time. So I just the last minute on my break at work today, I finished it out in 1 credit again. So I was pretty excited.
He's a
Wow.
master.
Nice.
I'm
What
telling
a
you, I was
squawking animal.
just squawking
repeatable.
out, man, on the job. But
That's it, guys. The screw is the best weapon, whether you like it or not.
I mean, I was trying. I was like, I'm gonna try to beat it with a different weapon. And then the screw dropped, and I accidentally stepped on it. And then all of a sudden, I got the power up. There was a little bird. I was like, all right, little buddy, we're doing this again. And I just crushed it with the bird. The same strategy. It just melts everything. Because that little bird, Also, it doesn't attack enemies, but if an enemy touches it, it kills them as well. So it gives like a little line of defense because it floats like above you and behind you. So if you just crouch and keep shooting, you have like defense like right above you. Nothing can really touch you. So
Wow,
it
yeah,
really
that's
helps.
really useful, actually.
Yeah.
I got 3 of those little buggers at one point.
What?
Like, so this is the only weapon that behaves like this. Because the rest of them, you have the base weapon, and then you get the power shot, which is the upgraded version, and that's it. The screw, you get the power shot, you get your first bird. And then if another screw drops, it'll look like a little bird icon. You pick it up and you get another bird. And then if you pick it up again, you get another bird. And I don't know how many times you can do
Oh, yeah.
this.
I know you could get 2 extra birds. I don't know if you can get any more after that.
Well,
I think it
yeah,
caps
so
at
I had
3.
3 on that poor dragon on the
Yeah.
one level that I had it on and completely annihilated.
Yeah, when you said 3, I
Completely
thought you meant
annihilated
you had 3 little birds. I was like, damn.
I did have 3.
Oh, you did, so 4 screws?
Yes. Yeah, so we were
Wow.
quad screwing here.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. But they take them away from you when you go to the next level. So you
Yeah.
go back to 1, you go back down to 1 satellite bird after. But man, for that one instance, I touched God.
Just like, makes me think of Beat from Mega Man.
Yeah, he's got a beady sort of feel. All right, I think we've gone on in this game about 45 minutes or so. We're going to say thank you and bye to Brad, and we're going to take a little break, and then when we get back, we're going to get into our review, and we're going to put the sucker in the league and rate it. Before we say bye to Brad, Brad, tell us about your podcast, where to find you, and what you're doing.
Our podcast is called Arcadiology. It's myself, my 2 older brothers, and our friend. Every 2 weeks we get together, talk about a different arcade game. We're just going through, playing a bunch of different arcade games, trying to find different stuff. Then we, discuss the game, then we rate it and rank it. So we put every game we played in like a giant tier list, just best to worst. That gets a little crazy sometimes. It's 4 people trying to fight their opinion for what game's best. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. We're discovering a lot of new games. I think this is a good example of the podcast because this is a game I never heard of, never would have played before actually starting our podcast. So yeah, if you want to discover some arcade games and come check it out, we're pretty much on any podcast platform and just search Arcadiology and give it a listen. Let us know what you think.
Very
Can I just
nice.
say, I think it's amazing that you do it with your 2 brothers. That I can't talk to my brother on the phone for like 5 minutes, let alone do a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've always gamed together, so it was only natural. We might as well start a podcast about video games,
Yeah.
So cool.
I envy that, honestly. I have brothers and sisters, but I'm not that close with them. So, yeah, what you got going there is pretty great.
My brother will be on the podcast with a game later this year.
All right. Again, thank you, Brad, and look forward to hanging out with you in the Discord, and we'll be talking to Jordan at some point during this year too.
Yeah, don't let him disgrace JJ Squawkers. I know he's got an agenda, so keep your own opinions. Don't let him influence you.
He definitely was the dissenter. Yeah.
But yeah, thanks guys. It's been a lot of fun.
All right. Pleasure to have
Thank
you, Brad.
Yep. See you later.
Welcome back. This is the part of the show where I like to say if you've made it this far, you must kind of like what's going on here. So go ahead and show that by hitting the like button if you're watching us on YouTube, or leaving us a kind rating and review if you're watching us on another listening platform, or interact with us in some way. You can email us at thecableclubpodcast@gmail.com to tell us what a crappy job we're doing or how much fun you're having listening. Or you can leave a comment, and you could consider joining our Discord as well. That is your Cable Club Central, where you get to hang out with us and the community. We really kind of want to be a community-driven podcast where we have our listeners weighing in and participating in the show. It certainly makes it a lot more fun for us doing this. So join us. Join us.
Join us now.
Join us.
Be one of us.
And we feel less weird about being a bunch of retro gaming dads in their mid-30s.
Mm-hmm.
Fun for everyone. All right, guys, you ready to review JJ Squawkers?
Let's do it.
Yeah, so I think this game is, when I first played it, I was like, ooh, this is rough.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I thought.
This is a yikes.
Yeah.
But as I kept playing it, I kind of got a little bit of what Brad was saying. And I don't know if this is like Stockholm Syndrome, but I learned to kind of master it a little bit. And I could get through pretty much the whole game until the final boss gauntlet without dying. And then I kind of realized how fair the game kind of is. And it's Contra-like for me in that way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think this game's like up against like Metal Slug or like Raiden or whatnot. I don't think it's like that tier. But like it kind of reminded me of like Ninja Gaiden, where you just kind of go through the game and you get a little better each time, like with each subsequent playthrough that you do. And I feel like if you do play a game like that, where you're trying to like get better and better, you get a little bit attached to it, at least somewhat. I know with like Steve, he really enjoyed Ninja Gaiden because like he was getting better and he got like one death or something like that when he got through the whole game. So I can definitely see, where Don's coming from by like, you're playing it and getting a little better, and that's how I see it at least.
Yeah, but let me put it into this kind of context. If you put a quarter in to play, would you continue to put quarters in?
No, absolutely not.
Hold on. I'm going to pause there because maybe. So even when I was a kid, there were a lot of arcade games that were like morbidly unfair. Like
the way
I don't feel like this is one of them.
Well, the way I'm looking at it too is like visuals too, because it's like yeah, it's colorful and stuff, but it's like it's like a bird throwing at tomatoes. Like, why are you gonna play that over like Ninja Turtles or like X-Men or something like that? You know what I mean? Or like Marvel vs. Capcom. Like, I just don't see it. Like, you might like throw a quarter in there for for the giggles, but then you're gonna move on.
Would you rather put a quarter in to continue playing Street Fighter 3 Third Strike? That was our last arcade game we played.
No, probably not. I think fighting games in arcades, at least my childhood experience with them, is that they're bad. Like even Marvel vs. Capcom, which is awesome, but a lot of times I'd have more fun watching the computer play itself because like I would put a couple quarters in, pick my favorite characters, and get totally wrecked on like the first couple fights, right? Like, and that's one of the inherent problems with arcade games, right? And yeah, Dan mentioned beat 'em ups. I do love beat 'em ups, and yes, I can sink a bunch of quarters into something like a Ninja Turtles beat 'em up. But maybe if I want to play something other than a beat 'em up, what are my choices? Like I'm thinking of like, okay, I'm starting to come around on this. Time Crisis, House of the Dead. So yeah, I probably would play those over that. I'd put this over skee ball though. Every single day of the week. Screw skee ball.
I like skee ball.
It's just not visually like appealing in my opinion when it's stacked up against like other arcade games. At least I'm just trying to think of like if I was to walk into an arcade and I saw all these arcade machines, I'm not gonna like, I look at JJ Squawkers, it looks funny and colorful and whatnot, but I could easily see myself just glancing over that and then go immediately playing something else. That's because his money's involved. You want your quarters to go where you want them to go. Like, I know as like a kid, there was like a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 arcade machine that I would always go to. And like, I'd always pick Mega Man and, play because it's just like, he was like one of my favorite video game characters of all time. So that's why I like gravitated towards it.
Yeah, for me, like, if we went to Game Fun Spot in Laconia, for example, and this was there, I probably would bypass it. I would be playing stuff like Donkey Kong. I'd be playing, Raiden is a big favorite of mine. I'd be playing like Burger Time. All those classic arcade games, I feel like I generally would want to play more. That being said, though, I did have fun playing this, and not having heard of it before, it was kind of surprising because I didn't know what to expect really, and it's pretty wild.
Yeah,
it's probably one of the
enough,
wildest games I've ever played.
Yeah, I'd put it up there with like Katamari Damacy.
Yeah,
right.
Of, like the wacky visuals,
right?
Or there is an actual PlayStation game called LSD, and I'm going to use game loosely because it's more like a visual gallery, but it's a pretty trippy game if you go look at it. But yeah, and I think that I struggled. So I learned to appreciate the visuals through my journey over these last couple weeks with like the background art But and again, my initial knee-jerk reaction is like, man, there's a lot of assets in here that feel like they were just like leftovers. Like there's one point where like little crowns come flying at you. And it's like, why are a bunch of crowns flying at you? I don't know, because we didn't have anything else
Yeah.
except these to throw in the game.
And
there's like gun knack.
Yeah, and there's no
Yeah.
story. At least Gunnack tells you why like that stuff's in the game. Like this game, I don't even.
Very, 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 very far
Maybe
away.
there's like an instruction booklet for this game somewhere in the world that could tell us why that's all this weird, trippy things are in this game.
I did
I mean,
try
we
to
know
look
what's happening.
for a story. Did you guys try to do any research on this game?
Very little. I just felt like the game was just pretty bare bones as far as like, going through it.
I just played it a bunch. I didn't go out and look for extra.
I mean, there's like nothing on it, like very, very little. I found a website dedicated to being an arcade museum, and basically what I found is that it gets a 2 out of a 100 on the most common game scale, meaning that like 1 is the rarest, right? So this one's like super rare. In fact, it doesn't even look as though the museum itself has a fully intact machine. Like they know of like 20 of them. And I guess they are either like boards in new cabinets or just boards or pieces of them, basically. Like, it's just so crazy.
Wow. I'm surprised it's emulated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah. And like I'm surprised it actually left Japan, but clearly, we were playing it in English. I can't imagine that this was some kind of translation. But I'd also argue that playability is kind of rough for this one too. Like, I thought, oh, it's on a MAME emulator. Like, I guess I can just download my RetroArch core and go download it, a ROM file for this and just have it work. But it's not exactly how that works. Like, and I don't really know how to set up MAME. So I'd have to like look up a guide and do that. And then you could play it in a browser.
That's what I
which
did.
I did. But then, like, I don't know, a lot of these browser player websites are like, you click something and you unleash a tornado, basically.
Yeah, it happened
your
on my
PC.
computer. Like, so what happened was, is this like on the website that that you can play this on? There's this button where you can full screen it, and so I clicked on it, and then I started getting all these like pop-ups saying like, oh, you have a Trojan virus, blah blah blah. But it's just like an extension in your browser that you put in there because you hit that full screen button, and you don't actually have a virus. Like, you can actually just remove that extension. But I was like tweaking at first. I was like, what the hell is going on? Like,
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with the game.
No,
but
no,
yeah,
no,
where
but
we found to play it.
because I don't know where else to play it, honestly, but besides like what Don was saying with the emulator.
In that same vein, though, as far as aging factors go, or just like factors in general that are kind of like, when I think of playability, I think of games like Mega Man X7, right? Where it's got like a bunch of things about it that are just not okay. So I feel like some of the stuff that happens in this game was like a programming either mix-up or not intentional. So, example, the screwbirds, right? Like, how is it that you can just rack them up, but then they take them away from you like you're not supposed to have them? And how is it like the only power-up that behaves that way? Like, I just don't feel like that was intentional. Like, I feel like that was just a dev mistake.
I'm not sure, because it's like I could see it being somewhat like they did it on purpose, is because they don't want you wrecking the whole thing, because you have like 3-4 screws, or like, you get up to like 6 birds or whatever, because then, they're not going to make any money off of you with the quarters that way. Maybe they thought it was like, oh, let's see how much you can get in a level, just kind of as like a fun little thing that you could do.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah, I could see that.
I found it really strange that the thing that the egg that drops like power ups can drop a point item. Like, it doesn't give you a power up; it gives you a
run
point.
ruiner.
Well, actually, that's probably the best power up if you're trying to go for the high score on the machine.
Well, I don't know if they have a high score on the machine. They don't let you enter in any your initials and have a scoreboard on it.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if
points. If you get enough points, you get a free life. But there's a free life upgrade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of had beef with the upgrades too. There were so many times, and I had one run where I went like the first 2 levels without basically a single upgrade at all, because I just kept getting either weapon switches or the single weapon that I had, more often the weapon that I had.
I felt
I was doing a screw run, and like I picked it up in the first level, and I swear to God, except for like there's one egg that's like, I think it's a scripted bean egg in that second level, but like every random one was a screw, like all of them. I was like, dude,
I felt like if you like, I think it does it in like other like, you know, bullet hell games or whatever, where if you pick up the same power up, it would just upgrade it. And I feel like this game should have did that, because like getting the actual upgrade for your weapon, I felt like, because it was so random, because it like you got them out of those eggs, and it could be any number of things. So actually getting like the upgrade one was kind of pretty small chance of actually getting it. You see like double ups of your weapon that you're using all the time. Like I remember seeing that too, where it's like, oh, you'd see the tomato or like the slinky shoes like all the time, and it's just useless to you.
Yeah, it would be nice if every time you saw the same weapon, it upgraded it to the next stage.
And
And
I
then
don't even think it'd be.
and then like
It wouldn't even be
power ups
that
didn't drop.
right. And I don't even think it'd be that broken, really, if he would upgrade off of like
Yeah, I
the
mean,
same power.
for an example, I prefer the first stage of the Slinky Shoes to the power up, so I would not want to get it to power it up.
yeah, you see, that's another thing too. There are a lot of instances where the power ups are not as good. Not so much with the screw and the tomato, but with the other two.
Yeah, the bean.
The shoe and the bean. So the bean makes like a bigger spread with more bullets. However, the way the game is programmed is you can only have a certain amount of projectiles on the screen at once until you get that excess shot. And if you don't have the excess shot, you get one shot of those beans and you cannot shoot again until they're gone.
Yeah, that's
which is
terrible.
a big problem for certain parts of the game.
Yeah.
I found. And then the gears, I think you're absolutely on the money, Dan, with the gears. I think the gears are just objectively worse than the shoe for a similar reason.
I feel like they should have acted like the same way as the Slinky shoes, but they don't. Like the range is so much shorter when you throw them. And I mean, they might do more damage, but like at the end of the day, it's like the range is just too god awful to be better than the Slinky shoes, in my opinion.
I thought the Slinkies did a lot of damage anyway.
Yeah, I did too.
They just do.
Yeah, they do.
So the damage isn't really like a concern. It's more about hitting things.
Because I just remember going into the final boss, upgrading to the gears, and it was just way worse. Like I got clapped like really fast with the gears, because they can't handle like the utensil spam. I mean, at least the way that I was playing it just wasn't. I mean, maybe they're better. I don't know. Like
that utensil spam is nuts.
Yeah.
Hardest boss.
So yeah, I think as far as pros go, I think the bosses are all pretty fair.
Yeah, they're pretty mild. They're pretty tame.
An arcade game.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you play like beat 'em ups in the arcade, those bosses are cheap. Like you can tell that they are designed to eat your quarters.
Yeah.
Like
it's like you hit them, but they don't get hit stun, and then they grab you and do some stupid attack. And
yeah, and it doesn't feel that unfair. In fact, I think the whole game kind of feels pretty decently fair. Like I feel like if I practiced a little bit more, I could probably one credit this thing. And I even think the second loop is probably one creditable. Just you'd have to practice more. So
maybe. I do feel like there is some like RNG when it comes to enemy or boss attacks. Like sometimes, you know, the second boss, he'll shoot like this spiral bullet hell type attack, and sometimes my projectile would stop it all, and sometimes it just wouldn't. And the Ghidorah boss, I could kill him 10 times the same way without getting hit, but every now and then one of his little things will get through. Like it just sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you just can't. So sometimes it feels kind of cheap, but
yeah, maybe it's something,
because you do the same thing every time and it doesn't always work.
Maybe it's like a hitbox issue or some or programming issue. It's just like glitches and it just ends up going through for some reason.
There is something to the like don't die thing though. When you get a fully upgraded weapon, it does not feel like the bosses can touch you as long as you're out of the way of the things that you can't like blow up.
Well, like in the robot, sometimes one of his missiles will just hit you.
Yeah.
You do the same thing every time.
See, that never actually happened to me.
It happened to
wait,
me a decent amount, but I think it's because of the weapon I was using.
Wait, do you mean the level 3 boss?
Yeah, the boss.
Oh yeah. You're right. He was probably the easiest boss overall, but yeah, occasionally one of those missiles, and like sometimes I would just get hit and I didn't even see a missile.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, I'm doing the whole like, it's my controller, it's not me, but but I swear to God, there was no sprite. Like, but anyway,
Yeah.
I mean, it's playable. It's just very, very rough around the edges.
There's probably a reason why there's only like 20 that we can locate. I did have fun though. I mean,
yeah,
I had
pretty
fun.
interesting title.
Yeah. It's fun for what it is. You can beat it in
But-
like 30 minutes, an
it's-
hour, but then like
Its saving grace is the length. You know,
Yeah.
you're not stuck in this like parallel hellhole.
I feel like it's one of
For,
those
like,
games
2 hours.
that you just beat and kind of move on, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think the levels are all a pretty decent length too, so you feel like you are progressing, right? But you don't feel like the levels are so short. Like why bother? And the levels are pretty varied, I'd say, which is also a pro, right? You know, like Brad was saying about that second level, you have those like bouncy balls, you have the crunchy things, you have the weird little block guys that you have to climb up
Yeah,
on.
that
are just
reminds me
like-
of Katamari Damacy, that part.
yeah, where they
the-
like freak out.
Yeah,
and they,
like the facial expressions and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like somebody cared when they made these visuals, right? Am I totally off base?
I don't think so. I mean, somebody definitely had to put some work into it, for sure.
Like maybe they were high as a kite the whole time, but like they you know, their high persona cared about what they were putting out. Like they didn't have to animate little faces on those blocks.
Or the
They didn't
paper
have to-
crunches when you step on them. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just imagining like a fully grown team of men in an office with
Three
a
people.
whiteboard.
3.
Yeah, and they're like trying to draw what is in their mind on this whiteboard and then having to sit down and code this game to put this in. Where are the checks and balances?
Unlimited power.
they see like a monster truck go by and they're like, yeah, I want that wheel in this game tonight.
Right? Yeah,
You-
this is the monster truck wheel.
You
But again,
cannot
it
go
doesn't- it
home
doesn't
and see
repeat.
your family.
So it feels deliberate that somebody like mapped this out, you know?
Yeah.
It's actually a team of 3 people, and there was one design. So I did check out their works to try to get a feel for this. There's one designer, Hidetoshi Nakajima. I think he is widely responsible for most of the visuals because I looked at some of the other games that he worked on, and they look very similar to this. There's one called Magical Poppin' for the SNES, which you'll just have to look at. I'll leave a link in the show notes so you can see an image of it. But it looks like this, like exactly like this. Same style sort of thing.
I don't know if my brain can take more.
I'll have to check that out.
All right. So do you guys have any final thoughts on JJ Squawkers before we rank it?
I think I'm
It's
all.
worth a play.
Yeah.
It's short enough. It's worth a play.
I echo the same sentiments. So I'm pretty much squawked out.
Yeah, I'll never forget it now. Like now if trippy arcade games ever comes up, I will definitely recommend to everybody in the room that they at least give it a play. So yeah. All right, let's go ahead and bump over to our league and get this guy rated. All right, here is our league list. Our league standings, our cups. So if you are new, this is your first episode, what we're doing is we're going to play 25 games total this year, so we're going to have 5, not tiers, cups. We call them cups because not all games are created equal. And we want to kind of be as fair as we can when we're grading them against each other and announcing winners at the end of the year for some prizes. So what we're going to do throughout the year is every time somebody comes on and brings us a game, we're going to plop it into this league wherever we think it is appropriate. Right now, there are only 2 cups. They're Pokemon Stadium style because we're a Pokemon-centered podcast. We have the Pokeball Cup, which is the higher cup, higher league, you might say, and the Apricorn Cup, which is the lower one currently. Each cup is going to have 5 games in it by the end of the year, and we're going to go all the way up from Pokeball to Great Ball to Ultra Ball to Master Ball, right? So there's going to be 5 cups, 5 games each. So that means if we drop a game into a cup that is full, we have to move another game up. So, fellas, we're going to drop JJ Squawkers, Brad's game into our cups. Do we think it is the next Pokeball game?
Hell no.
Oh, not for
Apricorn
me.
it goes.
Sorry, Brad. Apricorn it goes. If I can get it to drag. It won't drag, guys. It wants to go to Pokeball tier.
Maybe it wants to stay in its own tier.
All right. So that puts 6 games in the Apricorn tier. Therefore, we must move something up. And one of the rules are we can't pick our own game. So Steve can't pick Donkey Kong Country 2. I can't pick Paper Mario, but it is the best one so far, just saying. And Dan can't pick Pokemon Gold, Silver, Crystal.
Jeez. I'm just looking at the Apricorn tier, obviously not counting my game. I'm already looking at 4 games that could easily go up, but I'll pick 2. I'm going to go with Legend of Dragoon because I really like that game. And probably Street Fighter 3.
I think I'm going to go with... I'm on Donkey Kong Country 2 and Street Fighter 3 right now.
And for me, not being able to pick my own game, it's between Street Fighter and probably Oracle of Ages.
That means Street Fighter got all 3 of
Oh boy.
all 3 of at least one of our votes.
Wow.
We kind of tend to pick 2 games and then find the overlaps. That's kind of how we're doing this right now to sort them. So Street Fighter it is. Street Fighter gets promoted.
JAMO would be proud.
I'm sure he'll see it. Street Fighter gets promoted to Pokeball tier. Pokeball Cup. Cup. Not tier. And just for those of you watching, the games might look from left to right in this cup list, but they are in no particular order. So it doesn't mean that the games over to the right are worse than the games over to the left, as you might see in a traditional tier list.
Well, the Pokeball tier is right now because they've moved up in the order in which they were superior.
True. Do you want me to shuffle it? I'll shuffle it.
Well, there will be one winner eventually in each cup, so.
So if you're listening to us on an audio platform right now, just to summarize, we have Paper Mario and Street Fighter 3 Third Strike in the Pokeball tier, which is our highest tier at the moment. And then we have Donkey Kong Country 2, Pokemon Gold, Silver, Crystal, Legend of Dragoon, The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages, and JJ Squawkers in the Apricorn tier currently. But we have 18 games to go, so who knows where these games will go. They might move all the way up to Ultra Ball tier. Some of them might stay down here. We'll have to see. Our next game is from guest and community member Lycianthia, and he is bringing us an action platformer for this SNES called ActRaiser.
Ooh.
And this game looks so metal.
I'm excited.
I saw this game forever ago on a Hidden Gems list, and this has been on my to-play list for a while. So I'm happy that Lycianthia's got some pretty hipster tastes, and he digs these things up for us.
Looking forward to it.
Me too.
All right, so look for us in 2 weeks. Find a way to play ActRaiser. Pop over to the Discord. There's a new review channel over there. If you play ActRaiser, leave a review because we want to include your thoughts on the show about how this game is. This would be the section for that. We'll figure out a challenge. We'll post it over there. And other than that, game over, fellas?
Game over.
Game over.